6 hours. 6 months.
It's been six whole hours since we last recorded.
Yeah, this actually the problem is we only just recorded the Spider-Man episode.
Yeah, and then
an hour ago.
And then we decided, do you know what? Let's just bank this one and we're going to talk about movies that aren't out yet, even though we've seen them.
It's the longest teaser because it's a 6 months teaser. We're planning on releasing the next episode in 6 months to build hype. So in the next 6 months, you're going to see social media spots. You're going to see us on live TV.
Yep.
We've got competitions, giveaways.
We're going to be on Love Island.
We're going to be on Love Island.
As a couple.
There's a trip to Saudi Arabia that we're going to give away. It's honestly, the next 6 months are going to be wild.
Guys, check in. By the time we get to April, you're just going to be overloaded with social media.
The world will be aflame with the Meandering Movie Podcast buzz. They'll be like, Queen Elizabeth will come out on a little podium and be like, I've been listening to the Meandering Movie Podcast and it's very good.
Prince Philip will rise from his grave to be like, I thought that was all right.
Well,
I don't know what voice that was.
Well, you know what, Gav?
I don't know why I did the Beatles.
I'm excited to see what happens in the next 6 months.
It's very exciting.
And then I'm just going to say this and you'll have it. You should fade that out. And then we'll just pretend it's been 6 months. like that's like you could play the intro there and then for the opening we'll just be like, man, the last 6 months were fucking terrible.
So we'll just come back in with
just that.
Okay. What if I left all of this in?
I mean, that would be good as well.
It's Meandering Movies. It's Meandering Movies. It's Meandering Movies. So won't you lend an ear?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Meandering Movie Podcast. It has been 6 months since we last recorded. We know it's been a while. We had so much planned. The trip to Saudi Arabia got lost.
got cancelled.
Got cancelled. Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth, we sent them emails and they just didn't listen. Buckingham Palace sent me an email back saying, please stop.
Stop emailing us.
Stop emailing us. We don't need an email
Stop
an hour.
like sending us pigeons with little pictures of your face on it.
I didn't know how else to get them to pay attention to me, and now I'm definitely on some kind of list. So, apologies. Gavin didn't do any of the social media stuff we agreed on.
No, I was busy. I decided to take up Krav Maga, and I'm now a martial arts expert, so I'll kick the fuck out the Queen.
I didn't really do much with my time in 6 months. The other thing Gavin's done is he's covered up his tattoo, which is...
Wow, we're really just going straight into that.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Music is no longer life.
It's the end of an era.
Oh yeah, like, I guess for context, it's just Gary and I again. Our other people, Philip and Ryan, are not here. Because I covered up the Music's Life tattoo, Ryan has chosen to never speak to me again. He has disowned me.
I'm this close. If you hadn't offered to pay me to be here, I would have said no.
All I had to pay you was wagon wheels, apparently, and you were here. You love a wagon.
That soft marshmallow gooey center,
and then
surrounded by biscuit, covered in chocolate.
Philip just has like an actual audio engineering systems whatever job.
Why are they called wagon wheels?
You're still on the wagon wheel?
Well, because there's nothing. Like, if you think of a wagon wheel...
It's the shape of a wagon wheel.
Just call it a wheel, then. The wheel biscuit.
Because...
What? But a wagon wheel's got spokes. Where are the spokes on a wagon wheel biscuit?
You could make the spokes.
Yeah, you could make a wagon wheel biscuit look like a fucking Mickey Mouse ears, and then...
Wagon wheel sounds better than wheel. Hey, let's go get a bar of wheel. No,
yeah, I agree. But that's what I suppose that's what I'm saying. It just feels like a really weird lead to follow.
So is penguin. Why call it... Does it look like a penguin?
Well, they tell jokes.
That doesn't make sense. The penguins don't tell...
The penguin bar has a joke on it.
Every time I went to Edinburgh Zoo, I'd be like, Mum, the penguin wasn't telling me a joke.
Yeah. Edinburgh Zoo has got that little stage up at the back with the curtains. Once every hour and a half you go, and then all the penguins come out and they do their best stand-up comedy. It's the best bit of Edinburgh Zoo.
The worst part was the hippo of Harvey Weinstein's that would come around and like fiddle with the penguins.
Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein.
They can run 35 miles an hour on land.
We are not going down this route.
Just saying.
Welcome back to the Meandering Movie Podcast, everyone. Yes, it's...
We're going off the rails!
Already! We have, of course, Gary.
Hello.
I am the thing that goes bump in the night. Gavin Stewart. We are back for episode 2 of the Meandering Movie Podcast.
It's been 6 months. We're on episode 2.
It's been 6. We did say this is just going to happen.
Yeah,
when
this is what
to
you're getting now. We know that you guys are excited. And we know you want to listen to more Meandering Movie Podcast, but we agreed we wanted to give you this message weeks ago, actually. Fuck them.
Stop doing this.
Fuck them, fuck you. Fuck you.
Don't fuck me.
Fuck everything. This is what you're getting. It's like, like Oliver Twist when he's like, please sir, may I have some more?
Yeah.
That's the audience. And we're that fat guy in a chair. More.
How dare you?
Oliver. Never before has a boy asked for more. Oliver.
Please stop singing. We're going to get a copyright strike. Here's what I want to say to all you beautiful people out there who listen. Where the fuck were you when we were actually making the podcast? Because the amount of people that come up to me and they're like, when you coming back? I love your podcast. I want more of it. I'm like, where were you when it was happening? Where were you?
It's the hipster mentality. They've got to like it when it was not cool, so they can tell people, oh, I liked this before it was cool. So when we do come back, in another 6 months. Well, no, in another 6 months when we actually get the Saudi Arabia trip, the Queen's talk about
that's still
the
coming.
TV spots, the giveaways. When all that's happening, all the hipsters will be like, I like these guys before they were cool.
Yeah, when the new season of the Love Island trailer comes out and we're in the trailer and stuff, just be like, I knew them before they were
that's not
big
happening.
time.
They told us no.
I'm going on to. I'll swim to the island or whatever it is. I don't.
You good? Like, what would happen if they got a camera set up on that beach? Like, there seems to be something coming out of the ocean. It's some fat man covered in seaweed.
Excuse me. I may have put on a wee bit of podge in the belly, but I'm not fat. I've got comfortable. Speaking of comfortable, long movies make your butt hurt. And today we're going to talk about movie lengths.
The topic of the day,
and the lengths of movies.
Because it's got ridiculous.
It has gotten out of hand.
It's not just out of hand, out of the window.
Wow, out of the whole window?
We're driving a car on the motorway, and I have long movies in my hand. And I'm saying, Dad, look at these long movies. And you're saying, those long movies are distracting me. I need to pay attention to the road. If you don't get those long movies out of my face, I'm going to throw them out the window. Okay. And I've kept going. I've kept making long movies for years and years and years. And you've grabbed them, and you've thrown them out the window in a fit of rage.
And then it's
like my bouncy ball on the way back from Alton Towers. Thanks, Dad.
Oh.
He did say, stop throwing that bouncy ball at my head. and I didn't.
Do you know what's mental? That was last week. He's like, Gary, you're in your early 30s. Please stop throwing the bouncy ball at my head. And why did you make me take you to Alton Towers on a Saturday? You have a wife. I have a wife. We have lives to live.
Wives and lives.
Yeah,
but yeah, movies are getting far too long.
Yeah, for example, recently we've obviously had The Batman, which was just under 3 hours. We had Spider-Man No Way Home, which was like 2 hours 40.
2 hours 40. We've had the big hitters. We had the Avengers Endgame. Marvel have done a lot of long movies. They're kind of, and I agree, they are bumping up the kind of, they seem to be just edging it further and further. How long was Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi was like 2:30,
the new normal feels like 2:30.
Even what was it? Eternals was 2.5 hours, and that movie could have been 5 minutes, and it should have just been, we're sorry, we fucked it. That should have been the movie.
And then the most egregious of all of this, the most ridiculous and proof that movies are getting too long. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has released, and for a kids movie designed to keep small children entertained for a respectable amount of time.
Yeah,
that film clocks in at 2 hours. 2 hours 5 or something stupid like that.
How long was the first one? Like an hour 50 or hour 45?
What?
I'm sure it was like, because it was just kind of in and out.
The first one doesn't feel like 2 hours.
Most of my sex life. There we go. There's your first sex
one back. Sonic movie length. Let me check. We've got to check. We should have done this before the episode.
No, we like to do it as
the first one's an hour and 40. So that's kind of close to what they expected. And then the second one, Sonic 2 movie length, 2 hours and 2 minutes.
Did you? No,
it feels like 2 hours 2 minutes.
I've only seen the first one, and we were going to see the second one, but you went to see it in 4DX, so I could not morally join you in that crusade. Slight
aside. Hello, welcome to the Meandering Movies.
We're back.
4DX is by far the worst way of watching anything, any movie ever. It is a travesty to cinema, and the fact that Sonic 2 was almost a full cinema is mind-boggling. I mean, I can't talk because we paid for 4 of those fucking seats. But like, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to have to sit through Sonic 2, 40X is the way to do it. But it's just not. There's something wrong with the smell. You know, they're meant to blast smells at you.
Yeah, and sprays and...
Like at one point he's eating, he's like, oh, chili dogs, my favorite. And I was like, oh yeah, chili dogs. And I was expecting chili, maybe bread smell to get blasted in cheese. I don't know. Just fusty old fart smell.
Yeah, I have to imagine, no matter the smell, it's like, they're in a meadow of dandelions. It's just fusty old fart smell. No matter what, because it's just some old, tired machine just going...
They have a bubble machine now.
Oh, excellent. For all those scenes that don't have bubbles.
Well, there was like, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, obligatory dance sequence to Bruno Mars's fucking Uptown
course.
Funk or something. And like disco lights, and then this bubble machine started blowing bubbles
This sounds
out.
like a hellhole.
It was pretty nuts. It was pretty crazy.
Think of it when you go to the cinema and one person takes their phone out and it's distracting and ruins the whole experience. Imagine building a cinema screen around that with bubbles, lights, fart smells.
Genuinely, man. I haven't seen this. The last film I saw in 40X was the first Suicide Squad movie.
Jesus Christ.
Well, again, I was like, if I'm going to go see a terrible movie, I might as well try and eke some level of enjoyment out of it. And I remember that film was bad and the 40X experience was not great, but my memory of that was the seats moved a bit, and there was and then there was a bit of water and a bit of air, right? Sonic 2 was cranked up to fucking 11. It was like spitting water in my face every couple of minutes. The seats, I remember at one point when the seat jerked so hard forward, Hannah's whole head like snapped and her hair like fell all the way forwards, and then it snapped back and she was just like... She looked across at me and I looked at her and she was like, I
feel like I've just been physically assaulted. Should we sue City World?
There was so much flashing lights. There were the fans for the they make so much noise every time they whir up. They're like, so you were sitting there like, what is happening? I feel like I have PTSD from seeing Sonic 2 in 40X.
Horrific. I just like that they've turned it into a nightmare disco.
It's pretty much, and it's the Suicide Squad felt like they were trying to at least almost like the filmmaker, the director and the film team were like, right, we're going to do this sensibly. It's going to be like a subtle. There's going to be some real moments of like, wow, you're when the car rolls over, the seat's going to jerk and you're going to be there. Awesome. But for the most part, it was like kind of, this establishing shot. The seat's going to move slightly. Sonic 2, they were just like, fucking move the how much can we move the seats? Well, we recommend like once every 3 minutes. Every minute, everything. And the other problem with 40X, I spoke to Phil and Caboose and Hannah after we got out. Sorry, I know it's meant to be about film lengths, but I just have a lot to say about 40X.
Just fine.
The other problem with 40X is you're sitting there and it's like, all right, cool. Sonic is running down this road and he goes left and the seat jerks left and he goes right and the seat and you're like, all right, cool, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog. And then fucking Tails falls out of the sky and rolls and batters himself off the ground and the seat goes and like, oh wait, I'm Tails now, right? Sorry, I was Sonic now. Okay, I'm still here. And then Robotnik gets punched up the face and the seat jerks back and I'm like, am I Robotnik now? Am I just the camera? Like, what am I?
Who am I in the context of this movie?
It just, to improve the whole thing, it should just pick something. You shouldn't be everything. You shouldn't be the rocks and the characters and the fucking camera. It should be, you are either Sonic, you know what I mean? Like, you should be one of those things. Can you
imagine, like, and speaking of long movies, like Fast and Furious 9, like, if you're everything in Fast and Furious 9, you're coming out with whiplash. Like, you're coming out of the cinema and walking straight into the hospital. Because it's just like...
You need to.
Also, with Sonic 2, because you've seen the first one and the second one.
I've seen the first and the second.
I've only seen the first one. It was a film that I watched. I think we did an episode where we reviewed it.
I think we definitely did.
Back in season 2 at some point. So go back and look for that. I don't know which episode that was. But do you feel it warranted an extra 21 minutes?
Absolutely fucking not. So absolutely not. And very quick review before we get back to talking about the real issue. The thing I said, and if you do go back and listen, you'll hear me say it. The thing I said there was a problem in the first Sonic is there's too many human characters.
Yes.
Sonic 2...
James Marsden doesn't need to be there.
James Marsden and his wife, and their...
He has a wife?
Then his wife's sister, who were in the first one. All of those characters are superfluous to the movie and do not need to exist. The second one does away with that pretty early on. It's like James Marsden's going to Hawaii with his wife for his sister's wedding. So you're like, all right, they're out of the picture. And they did what I said they should have done, and they give you a Sonic movie with Sonic and Knuckles and Tails versus Robotnik for 80% of the film. The 20 extra minutes,
Oh, here it
Gavin,
comes,
the
yeah.
20 extra
It's
minutes that they
the
added to
Hawaii
that
holiday
movie
time.
are the Hawaii holiday subplot
Fuck
storyline.
off.
So the wife's sister is getting married to this guy. I'm going to spoil all this for you,
Oh, I do
and I'm
not
going to
care.
spoil everyone. I apologize.
It'll show up on Now TV at some point. I'll put it on and drink a bottle of wine.
She's getting married to this guy who's a new character. Fine. It turns out that the new guy that's been introduced is actually an undercover agent
For
working
Robotnik.
for the government agency called Gun, which are also on the hunt for Sonic. They're in the games, so it's kind of like, oh, I get why you've done this. Didn't need to do it this way. And then there is I kid you not, Gavin, there is an 8-minute to 10-minute long sequence of the wife, the scorned wife, who's like, "You've been lying about our relationship the whole day." He's like, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have lied." She's, "I'm gonna kill you." And then it's a 8 to 10 minute long
red flag.
sequence of her riding around on a fucking golf cart, screaming, "I'm gonna tear his head off." And it's played for laughs, but it's like, I don't care.
I want to go back to Sonic and Tails fighting Knuckles
Like,
and
I don't care
Robotnik.
about any of this stuff. If this was a 2-minute gag, fine. It's going on for the longest amount of time, and it just doesn't end. And yeah.
It's kind of like those Godzilla Kong movie stuff where it's like, oh, cool, Godzilla and Kong are doing Godzilla and Kong thing. Oh, now we're back to the 20-minute segment where like the girl from Stranger Things is wandering around a secret lab trying
And
to...
she's sad and
Yeah, and her dad died, or her mum, one of her parents. I don't care. Show me Godzilla punching something. Like, this is what I came for, you. Anyway, long movies.
So long movies. So I think it would be interesting to go through the history of long movies, which I think you've done a small bit of
Yes,
research on.
obviously, post World War II is when cinema, a lot of some of the biggest directors kind of started to come out around that time. They just worked during World War II.
John Lasseter.
No, I was almost going to. Oh yeah, it's like John Ford and stuff, like these kind of big names. Just not John Lasseter.
Randy Bird.
No. But yeah, so you had films like Ben-Hur and Lawrence of Arabia, the Godfather trilogy, of course. All of these movies are like
Frank Ford Coppola.
Big Coppola, yeah.
He's a notoriously long filmmaker.
Yeah, like Apocalypse Now, the director's cut is 3 hours. And he's done another director's cut, which is longer, I think. Then you've got The Godfather Part 2, which is well over 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then movies like Lawrence of Arabia, Malcolm X with Denzel Washington, like all over 3 hours. Like, it was quite common between, like, I would say early 50s through to the 70s. These kind of big art house piece movies, these kind of event movies. 2001: A Space Odyssey is another example. But I think a reason why movies at that time were so long is because they had intermissions and things like that. So they would do these long. It's kind of like theater. You go to the theater for it's a night.
Yeah,
it's
and
an
the theater's a 3 and a half hour event.
You're going out for a big evening. You're going out for dinner with your loved one, and you're going to the cinema, and it's this big experience, and the lights and the Panavision cameras, and it fills the room. And we're going to stop, and you're going to come outside. You're going to get some more popcorn, some more juice.
It's also the only thing they had to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So
there
it's
was
like,
no streaming services. There
Yeah,
was
you
no
want- you
video
wanna-
games.
It's like, how much you pay for these tickets for the Godfather Part 2? And it's like, oh, they were like £15 a pop. Or at that
Probably
time,
that time, like $4 or £4 or something.
It's all right, cool. So, I mean, what are we going to do? Like, go for food and then come home and then what? Like, there's nothing on the TV, so I guess we'll just sit in the dark. I don't know what they did back in the 70s.
We'll put the radio on and listen to that War of the Worlds thing again. That's class.
But it's like, no. It's our entire night. We're going to go, we're going to have food, and then we're there until 11 o'clock.
Oh my God.
What?
And then we come home and beat the kids. And then...
we It's so funny because we're talking... Godfather Part 2 is what, the 70s?
Yes.
And I have put that into the 20s or
You
30s.
put that in the 30s. Like, husband comes home. They have their like microwave dinner thing. They're like, the war's about to come, everyone. And then they just like slap the wife and go to bed with a bottle of whiskey. But then obviously post 70s we're into the 80s, and 80s is when the kind of action movie renaissance really took off with your Schwarzeneggers, your Stallones, these bigger movies. But with bigger
Van
movies of that
Damme's.
scale,
Seagulls.
no. Well, Steven Seagal can fall into a bin and roll down a hill and disappear into the sea.
Your Snipes.
Wesley Snipes is more like the 90s, I would say. Bruce Willis is late 80s, early 90s.
Bruce Willis is still... I mean, he's only just retired.
I mean, yeah, sad about Bruce Willis and what happened, obviously, but, you know.
What happened?
He's got a condition where it's like he's slowly losing his memory and stuff. So he's been working all these terrible movies he's been doing over the last couple of years is to make a bunch of money for his kids and his family, so he can now retire and like pretty much die quite peacefully, and his family can be okay.
How has he not had enough money from his long
Because apparently,
varied history
like
career?
Between Die Hard movies, he had issues with the taxman, gambling, and wine. So it's just like most celebrities. I mean, Bruce Willis has had a pretty like mediocre career after a while, so he just kind of
Looper's probably the last decent thing he was in.
probably
It's funny, celebrities who are like, oh, I earn millions of pounds every year. And we're like, oh man, they must be living the dream. And it's like, no, not really. They live in a bigger house, but their bigger house costs them a lot of money.
Yeah, they have a lot more
And it's like, oh,
outgoings.
well, they must eat well. It's like, well, they eat the same as you, but because they're living in these and they're celebrities, they just eat very expensive versions of it. So it's like our like 25K a year is the exact same as a Hollywood
Maybe
4 million a year.
If there's another lockdown, we should all sing Imagine for them. Sing that to Gal Gadot and just like, hey Gal, this is for you. This is for you, Gal. Imagine all the celebrities. And it was like, wow, the little people are thinking of us in our big mansions and swimming pools.
Which one of them was like, this all fucking...
It was Gal Gadot.
Was it? Did she actually start that?
Because then she got like Kristen Wiig involved, and because they were doing the Wonder Woman movie stuff at the time, and they got Chris O'Dowd and a bunch of other people. I only saw like the first 40 seconds. And I went,
I watched the whole thing.
Of course you did.
There was a lot of celebrities in it, but I didn't realize it was Gal Gadot that started it.
Yeah, it was her whole... Wouldn't it be great if we just sang a wee tune to the poor people? Like, thanks, Gal. Thanks. This is really making my lockdown...
We're thinking of you so much. Cool. Could you like send me just £1,000 would be
Yeah,
really helpful.
£1,000.
No, I've done my part.
Anyway, I'm going to have a martini in the swimming pool. Fuck off. So yeah, we had the 80s movie action renaissance. So movies kind of like tightened up, quicker experiences, like bigger, like in terms of explosions and excitement, but shorter and smaller in terms of we just want to pump these out and just get moving on.
This was also the time where the TV was becoming... The silver screen was becoming its own thing
TV.
as well. Well, in the sense that it was, competition. So like...
Yeah.
A lot of families who couldn't maybe afford to take the entire family out to the cinema could sit them down in front of the TV for their primetime Saturday night 7 show. You know what I mean? Like 4, 5, 7 shows. And it's like, right, well, to compete with that, we can't ask people to come to the cinema for 4 hours.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. This mentality. It's funny. People think the mentality of everyone wants everything quickly now started when iPhones and all that kind of stuff. It's like it started a lot. Like we had it in the 80s, we had it in the 90s. It's just it was different in the way it was. Like when the TV first came around, people like the newspaper's going to die off and no one's going to listen to the radio, the good old-fashioned radio anymore. It's going to be kids watching all of these terrible... They're going to look at naked ladies on the TV. It's like, no, it's just going to be like Saturday night. Ant and Dec were probably on. It's like still just doing Saturday Night Takeaway.
Saturday Night Takeaway.
1987.
I do remember that,
It was so do I. I wasn't alive then, but just pretend I do. Yeah, so you had that type of experience, and then the 90s changed, and it was the renaissance of visual effects, movies like your Jurassic Park and stuff, and your Matrix, and we had these different... We still, during all of these decades, had big movies, but they just weren't as prominent or sought after.
I'm trying to remember from the 90s and noughties what the longest movies we would have had.
So you had like...
that was obviously like my time growing up and falling in love with cinema.
The 90s, you're going to have like Malcolm X, The Green Mile, Shawshank Redemption, like these sorts of... The Titanic, which was early 2000s. Kind of like these big movies that were... I guess some of them were events.
I just looked you dead in the eye while I burped right into the microphone.
Oh, I can't wait to cut that out. I can't wait to listen to that 4 more times as I try to cut around that.
I was like...
I can't cut around it because we're talking about it.
A little burp and I moved my mouth to the side. And then I heard another one coming. I was too busy thinking, oh, I could feel that burp coming and listening to you.
And then you just looked me dead in the eye and burped.
Right, sorry. So yeah, we had the Titanics, we had all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, these were big movies, but there was definitely...
But they were the few and far between, especially in the noughties and the 2000s.
They had died off and they weren't as prominent. You'd get like maybe one a year or something like that, and people would be like, that movie is too long, and then you'd kind of move on. And then...
They were also, like, I mean, you've just listed a bunch of there that were... if I remember this correctly, were fairly prominent like award winners. Green
Like
Mile, Titanic,
Lord of the Rings,
Lord of the
Return of the
Rings.
King. Yeah, it's
It felt like if your movie was going to be incredibly long, you were making it as Oscar bait, effectively.
I mean, sure. I mean,
They were meant to be these like Green Mile, Titanic.
Because Hollywood loves itself, and they love to look back on itself. And when these big kind of tentpole movies would come out, like, oh, this is reminiscent of the movies that I watched when I was a younger man. What these big tentpole 3-hour epics that are artistic, and it's got the Panavision cameras being used, and oh, it's beautiful, blah blah. And then of course,
I'm James Cameron, and my vision is to make a 3-hour-long movie about the ship, the Titanic, and also to watch Kate Winslet get boned in a car.
and make everyone on set miserable. The James Cameron way. Is that weird, that deleted scene in Avatar where he made Kate Winslet just get boned in a car in a spaceship and then he just never put it in the movie?
Cuts straight back to the action. It's not even on that planet. It's on Earth.
It's on Earth. She's just in the back of like a Cadillac. And she's just getting boned by someone.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, a lookalike, because he was busy. He was chasing his Oscar.
Have you seen that picture of Leonardo DiCaprio through the years where he's slowly turning into Jack Nicholson?
Yes.
It's incredible. It's amazing.
I love how you've once again, and you've been doing this since we started this podcast, bringing up visual aids on an audio podcast that the people can't see.
Well, they can look it up.
Okay, Google Leonardo DiCaprio becoming Jack Nicholson.
Do you want to see another one of the Grogu, Mike, Shrek, and Grinch color palette?
Sure.
Look, take your pick. You can mix up Grogu, Shrek, Mike Wazowski, and
I would like the listeners to know if this segment has remained in the podcast. That's one of the worst things someone's ever shown me, and I want you to if that's on your phone, delete it because you're better than that. That's true garbage.
So we had
Kate Winslet got boned in a car in Avatar.
Kate Winslet in a car getting boned in Avatar,
and then
going far.
I would say definitely when we catch up to late noughties and stuff, you've got your iPhones, you've got they wanted quick consumable, you've got YouTube as well, Twitter, Vine, was that
Vine?
Yeah,
Vine
like
7 seconds. I don't think Vine.
15 seconds.
No, you're thinking of TikTok.
Was TikTok only 15 seconds? Because I've seen TikToks that are like 90 minutes.
TikTok is like 15 seconds is the minimum.
Oh, okay.
Vine was 7 seconds.
Okay, but yeah, it's like you have this quick consumable content, and movies wanted to chase and follow that because you also had your streaming services, and they wanted to just. Plus, the shorter the movie was, the more screens of it you could have, because they could turn around the cinema and put more people in seats. So it's just like, we can do 10 showings of our movie that day because it's under this runtime. And so it's like, just pump these movies out and just get going. So your hour 50 became like the average. Hour 50 to 2 hour, that was your average. I was happy with that. Life was good when movies were an hour 50.
Yeah, I agree. But I do agree. I think my much like I know my timings when it comes to getting a tattoo, I can't get a tattoo past the 3 hour mark because I know that's when all my adrenaline crashes out. And any time past 3 hours, I'm just like, this is a living, waking nightmare.
I want this to stop.
I hate this and I want to go home. So I now know not to book anything past the 3 hour mark. Like ideally, hour and a half. Like do it in 2 sessions, So I know that I like an hour. I can deal with the 2 hour mark. 2.5 hours is probably my top limit. And 2.5 hours, it needs to be something that I am heavily invested in or is good enough for me to not feel the 2.5 hours tick by.
Yeah, I think we're both in agreement that like we're not against long movies.
No.
It's just because films like Lawrence of Arabia, The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, I love those movies. They're incredible.
Maybe.
I will make the effort to watch those movies.
I've seen Apocalypse Now.
You're
never seen The Godfathers. That's one of my cinema sins. We need to do a cinema sins episode.
Yeah, it's on the list. We'll get to that at some point.
Godfather. I'll do mine now.
No, don't save it for the episode. Then we just veer off into that. Like, we're both fine with big movies.
Yeah,
but
it's got to be. I'm fine with big movies as long as the big movie has enough to say, and it's not filling it. And I'm going to pull Sonic 2 up for this again. Not filling it with this just random nonsense to artificially inflate the screen time.
Do you know who's terrible for long movies? And he did one 2 years ago that got Oscar nominated. Is Martin Scorsese in his movie The Irishman?
Yeah,
that movie
Netflix.
Is 3 hours, and it is shocking how nothing happens in 3 hours. Like I remember at one point I remember the experience of watching it so vividly because it was such an unpleasant experience, which was I paused it at one point and I went, I still have a whole other movie left to watch.
through.
And I just finished my bottle of wine. So I guess I'm going to have another bottle of wine and watch a whole other movie. And so far, in this whole movie I've watched, nothing had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing had happened.
So I'm going to do the devil's advocate, play the other side of this, just
Okay.
briefly, because I think it's the interesting part of this conversation is it's all fine and well for us to sit here and scream, movies are too long, bring back the shorter movie. But the argument is, are we then editing art? Now, whether or not we like the art, Irishman being a fine example of this. I'm not going to use Sonic 2 as an example of this because it's a fucking kid's film and it's designed to make money. Irishman's a good example, though, because even though we didn't enjoy it, Scorsese made that film with a vision. His vision, whether we agree with it or
It was
not,
a blank slate.
whether we agree with it or not, was a 3-hour-long vision. And you mentioned director's cuts previously.
Yes.
So, you know...
not on mic, but when we were chatting...
Oh, did we not do it on mic?
No, we were chatting over text about director's cuts.
Cool. Well, then, yeah, I'll, very briefly, like... we're talking here and it's but these films are too long. And it's like Aliens, for sure, definitely had a director's cut, which is the
Yes.
recommended viewing experience.
Yes, definitely.
Blade Runner has a director's cut, which is the recommended viewing experience. And all of these director's cuts are longer than the base theatrical cuts.
Pretty much, if Ridley Scott has released a film, he then has released a... What is that noise?
It sounds like a small child falling downstairs.
Oh God, I hope it is. Ridley Scott will always release a director's cut because that man... Here's why I love Ridley Scott and I respect Ridley Scott compared to people like Peter Jackson or Martin Scorsese. Is Ridley Scott knows that he needs to cut his film down. He knows if he wants to put it out in the cinema, most of your audience is just going to want your 2 hour like nut. Good. And then when the Blu-ray comes out, he'll put his big 2 hour 40 cut on there. Peter Jackson would be like, how long is the movie? 3.5 hours? Put the whole thing out. Don't edit a single second.
Say
bit
that,
of
but
it.
then there's the Lord of the Rings extended cuts that add on fucking...
No, but then you've got that King Kong movie. We're 40 minutes into the movie before he gets to the fucking island. And he's like, this is my love letter to King Kong. I went, yeah, and the love letter to the 70s or to the fucking 60s one, they're on the island in 20 minutes, Pete. Fucking rein it in.
Are we editing art? So, but by saying we want a shorter film, like if a filmmaker, whether or not we agree with it, Peter Jackson decides he wants to do a 3-hour-long fucking Kong movie, then that's his choice, right? Like, should we not be allowing? Like, should the director's cut be held for a thing, or should we just be like, look, you make the movie you want to make? Because this is something you've said previously as well. Art, cinema is art.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to catch you out. This isn't me being like, ha, fuck you, dick. I just asked
Philip jump out from cupboards like, got you.
This is an intervention, idiot. No, but it's something you said yourself. Movies are art. So at the end of the day, art should be whatever the creator decides.
Yes.
And if the creator decides, who fucking directs Sonic 2, if he decided, you know what, my art needs to have an 8-minute sequence where she chases her
husband
on a golf cart screaming. This is my movie. This is my vision.
I just love the fact that this is a wee aside, that this is a wee time capsule, that some of the conversations, because you will never again reference Sonic 2 this much in your life than you have in this fucking podcast.
We were talking about doing a Sonic 2 review, and I think I think it will be worse than this. It'll be worse than what I'm talking now because I'm doing more Sonic 2 reviewing now than I would in an actual review.
Like with actual review coming out, you're like, yeah, it was alright.
It was fine. Go see it.
Yeah, it's a difficult point to navigate because obviously I love cinema, I love movies, and I love like wanky, pretentious auteur directors.
Oh, you do.
Who, like anyone who's listened to this podcast before, they know I love the fucking artsy foreign nonsense shit that no one's ever heard of because I'm a wanker. I just really went down a path there of just really tearing myself down. I might continue. I won't though. And it's just
I'll do it for you.
No, you're okay, thanks. But yeah, I obviously don't want directors to be hindered in their vision. But sometimes if your movie, for example, is, I don't know, a Spider-Man movie, it doesn't the vision isn't there enough for it to be In fact, let's not go after Spider-Man. Let's go
I
after.
think Spider-Man did it okay. It's long, but it's
I instead want to go after Eternals, because Eternals is one of the worst movies I saw last year. I almost fell asleep twice in that movie. It's 2.5 hours, maybe a wee bit longer. Why?
a very
What?
and very just for anyone that's not seen Eternals, Marvel movie. A very very quick summary would be that it's doing the usual Marvel kind of origin story, but it's doing it with seven characters, something like. It's doing it with a ridiculous number of characters,
Yes.
and it's weaving it into the Marvel MCU narrative.
And they're all basic bog standard. Like they are this person, they are that person.
They're all pretty like cut out.
Yeah,
like,
pretty like this is who they are.
one dimensional.
Done. Angelina Jolie's.
She's a love interest. He's the strong one.
Yeah.
He's the one that has a dark background.
She could kill them all because she's got a weird virusy thing in her head.
Anything else? No, that's the whole character. That one. She could just maybe kill you all.
And then the movie kind of ends. You're like, wow, that was 2.5 hours for no fucking reason.
I'm going to say one thing very quickly in defense. The Eternals had I genuinely had one moment in it. I was like, that was an epic piece of cinema. When that massive celestial thing comes to Earth, and it just has that single shot where it's like from Earth perspective
And then,
of the horizon, and it's just this upper half of a body, and it's like so unbelievably monumentally big, and you just see people freaking out. I love that. It's like 10 seconds.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that the whole film's worth that 10-second moment.
Because that's at the end of the movie.
That's great at the end. But that 10 seconds, I was like, whoa, that's a really cool.
If you'd seen that in super screen, that would have really.
Yeah. Sorry. But yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
and it's yeah.
I feel it's a case of it's dependent on the director and the story. And I know that's a kind of a cop-out answer, but as much as I dislike him, someone like a Scorsese, someone like a Tarantino, someone like a Coppola, a Denis Villeneuve at this point, even though Dune was too long, I get why Dune was long, but it was too long. Denis Villeneuve is a director who has earned, in my opinion, the right to have the freedom to make a movie as long and exceedingly over much. I don't know. I lost my train of thought there, but you know what I mean.
I think going after Marvel films. I think I think Marvel movies and Sonic movies and all these other kind of smaller films are an offshoot of what is happening. I think the conversation lies around people that are making movies as art. So, like, you know, everyone you kind of just said who believe that they are putting out genuine cinema, like they're making art.
They're making
Marvel's
something.
not doing it. Marvel are just following the trend.
It's they're running on a track and they're just kind of putting out it's a copy and paste situation at this
Yeah,
point. Like,
it's
let's go to Atlanta, let's get into our big warehouse of blue screens, do a couple of flips, say your line, cut it together.
Yeah, no,
flop it
but
out.
I mean, what I'm saying is that Marvel are just copying the trend. Marvel are just seeing that a lot of movies that make a lot of money are the very long movies, and they're
I
just
don't know
like,
if that's true,
we'll just fucking bump out a couple. But the question I'm asking is it right for us to be like, so because you know, I'm trying to think of a long movie that came out that I did enjoy, but I thought was too. I mean, June's a great example. Actually, let's use June because we both agreed. June, Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
These movies came out 3 hours long. Yeah. And I
Or
thought they
shy
were
of.
shy of. I think June and 2049 were both fantastic movies, and
Yeah.
I've seen both of them twice, and I've talked about them in great detail.
Yeah. Denis Villeneuve can do no wrong.
He's great, and what he does is amazing. But there were still points in both of those films when I was like, I'm reaching my sit limit. I'm reaching my cinema limit here, and I don't think I can.
You're reaching it. I need to go pee at some
I need
point.
to pee. I need to like my attention span, for better or for worse, is not a 3 hour long attention span. It's a 20-minute attention span. So it's a miracle I can extend that to an hour and a half, let alone 3 hours. So is it right for us to sit here? And this is where I think the conversation is interesting. Is it right for us to be like, well, you know, great movie 2049, great movie June, but you should cut out. Hey, Denis Villeneuve, you should cut out chunks of it for the audience, for us. From Gavin and Gary, for your boys in the Meandering Movie podcast.
Should I whoop whoop? I mean,
Because that's what we're saying. That's what we're both saying.
Yes.
That Denis Villeneuve, we want you to make your movie shorter.
yeah, like to break it down to the honest fact is that we are two adults who have lives, jobs, other people in our lives that we want to spend time
I mean,
with.
you have a job. I wouldn't blow too much smoke up your own ass.
Fuck, what does that mean? What does that? I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? Yeah, we have things out. We have like a lot of life things that we have to tackle. I don't even know. I'm just gonna navigate past that one and try to just keep on going. So
Taking my pound of flesh.
You've taken all. I have nothing left.
Just a little
I'm
skeleton.
but a toe and a mouth. It's like to give over so much time to a movie. It sounds shit at this point, but we just don't really have the time to give to these type of movies. I did see the Batman twice though, so it's like
The Batman's another good example though of like, and I think Batman toes the line perfectly because it's a comic book film that is not. It's not just doing it paint by the numbers. The Batman felt like it was trying to make its runtime worth it, and still struggled with an extra half an hour that didn't need to be in there.
Just didn't need to be that long.
And again, although it was like, oh, it's not an origin movie, we're doing our own thing. It's not. It's like, yeah, but you are still showing us a lot of origins of a lot of things. You're not showing us the Batman origins, but oh, here's Catwoman, and here's where she came from, and here's where like,
Riddler came from.
Okay,
Joker's
right.
kicking about. And
It's like, hey.
I mean, yeah, I think we're both in agreement. We both loved the Batman.
Yeah,
it's a great
film.
movie. But this is the thing I noticed that every single person I've spoken to when it comes to the Batman, the first thing they've always said to me was, "It's too long."
Yeah.
Like no one's ever went, that deserved to be that length. Like I enjoyed the way scenes were paced out because Batman would come into a scenario and it was kind of slow and brooding and he would kind of move around methodically, and I just liked Pattinson's kind of interpretation of Batman being like this caged kind of very centered person that would explode when needed to be. And so yeah, that did draw out scenes perhaps a little longer because they took so long. But then you've just got a lot of fluff in there as well. Like the Joker stuff, get that the fuck out. The Catwoman Batman love story, no, it felt too much too quickly. It's like I like them working together, but I wish they just kept that kind of relationship of we're working together and there's a bit of flirtation. There's not, I love you, let's kiss, run away with like
They
all
didn't
this.
say I love you, did they?
I think at the end of the movie or something like.
Did they say I love you?
I think so. It's, this new TikTok generation, they all fall in love and then out of love. I don't fucking know. I'm gonna die alone, so it's fine. But yeah, this was the conversation that started it for you and I in our group chat. is when I learned the runtime for the Batman, I jumped into the group chat that you and I, Philip and Ryan have, and I was just like, what the fuck is this runtime? Why is it this long? And then we kind of, a lot of the things we've already discussed, we were chatting about over text, and I said that the Avengers Infinity War / Endgame is what started or kind of reignited this trend, I feel, because people went to the cinema for Infinity War and for Endgame, which were, for the movies that were really, really long. Like Endgame was close to 3 hours, I think.
I think so.
And
I think you're right.
it is one of the most profitable movies of all time. And so studios, being the very simple people that they are, they went, movie long. A lot of people saw a movie. They must want long movies. And they just like those two things crossed over.
And it is funny because of all the films that you're going to make long, I feel like the end of an arc, at the end of a 30 movie arc, and I know it's not 30 movies, but for anyone fucking messages in,
no one's ever messaged in about anything. No one's ever sent a message about anything, Gary. I don't think you have to worry about that now.
But yeah, like the end of a 30 movie arc deserves to have long movies because you have so many characters and so many stories to wrap up.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and if you've decided you're going to do the majority of that in these big 2-part epics, they need to be long. What you then don't need after that is like, wow, the Endgame did so great. We should make Eternals and Shang-Chi and whatever else is about to come out really long as well, because clearly people like that.
Like Shang-Chi, I thought was the best of the 3 Marvel movies that came out last year. It's the one I enjoyed the most.
Had No Way Home, Eternals, and No Way Home wasn't last year, right? No,
it came out like December time.
Oh, cool.
So like Shang-Chi, Eternals, and No Way Home, and I thought Shang-Chi was the best, but it was still like that final act, like the big battle and everything. I was like, this is still going on, and this could have ended 10 minutes ago. Because once the battle's over, I'm like, we still got to do the whole like wrap up of, that was something. Anyway, let's have
what have we all learned? What are our character growth moments?
1 month later and back in New York, hey guys, and then we got to do our post credits, and I'm just like, wrap this up. Why is this as long? And I generally do believe it's because studios saw the most profitable movie of all time being that length, and they thought we can get away with it now again.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Get away with it doesn't not necessarily get away with it.
Quick question about end credit scenes for you. I know Marvel are the main perpetrators of this, so
Yes.
it's not like I'm going to be talking about this for anyone else particularly. But Marvel with their end credit scene, like surely if something happens in an end credit scene that is integral to the storytelling of the next film or even the film you've just watched, it shouldn't be an end credit scene. It should be in the film.
Here's what I've said, and I've said it since post credit scene started, in which I think Iron Man had the one with Nick Fury or something.
Right, yeah.
I don't stay through for post credit scenes anymore. I haven't since Infinity War. I don't do it for any movie at any point because I have a life and I don't care about either my life or end credit scenes.
You have a job.
Shut up. Every single post credit scene I have stayed for, no matter the movie, if it's Marvel or if it's someone else, has never been worth it. Mm-hmm. I have never sat through an end credit scene and gone, glad I stayed for that.
Yeah.
Because it's always just been here's what's to come, wink, or here's a fun little Easter eggy thing, wink.
Yeah.
And that's
and those ones I'm fine with. Those ones I'm like, you want to stay and you want to watch that, and you know what? If it's a fun little Easter egg or it's something else, awesome. I have no problems putting that halfway through the credits. If not, right
I'll never see it, or I'll watch it on YouTube 6 months later.
And if you never see it, it won't affect anything.
Yeah,
no problem. What I have an issue with is the ones where it's like, I think Shang-Chi did it. So end credit scene in Shang-Chi was spoilers for a year-old movie. Go watch it. Was the sister sitting on her new evil chair as the head of the new evil company.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what are we going to do? It's like, don't worry, I'm taking over. Cut. And it's like, oh, that was only a minute. But that's a very big piece of storytelling.
But you know what that tells me? Is they have no idea what to do with that or if they'll ever touch it again. So, like, just throw it in the end credits.
I mean, and then that's the second problem I have with end credits. And Spider-Man is the worst one. Spider-Man Homecoming, definitely the worst one for this, and especially with where we are now with Morbius. Michael Keaton in prison speaking to Gargan with a scorpion on his neck. So you're like, holy shit, Michael Keaton's coming back. He's going to bring the scorpion with him, and
they're going to do Sinister Six.
They're going to do something. When did Homecoming come out?
20.
So it's 5 years.
17.
5 years now, and Michael Keaton has finally turned up in Morbius. Do you know where he turns up in Morbius? Do you know how much of an impact he has in Morbius?
Post credit scene.
End credit scene.
I did not know that, but that was.
Are you joking? Like, why do an end credit scene if you have no plans of doing anything with it?
Because Sony.
I mean, let's not
go down the Morbius.
Yeah, my gripe is if you do an end credit scene, it should be an Easter egg. If it's something integral to the story, put it in the film. If you are going to do an end credit scene with a character that you're hinting at coming back, fucking bring them back. Don't just do nothing with them for 5 years.
I mean,
Jesus.
We have definitely spiraled off into post-credit scenes, but I'm fine to do it because I hate them. And you know me, I love to rant. By the way, Homecoming 2017, I'm incredible. It's all up here, like a locked box. It's like a little Rolodex of unnecessary information.
I did the maths. It was 5 years ago.
I just went into my head.
I know, but so in my head, you said 2017, and I subtracted 2017 from 2022, and I came up with 5. So that's how I knew it was 5 years ago.
Okay, thank you. We've really spiraled off now, haven't we? Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that Homecoming one with Michael Keaton. I remember the trailer for Morbius came out, and Michael Keaton does a whole
Michael Keaton is in the trailer of Morbius. The initial, you're right, the initial trailer,
and he does that
for him to be
we should talk or something.
For him to be in an end credit scene in Morbius.
Because let's be honest, the only way they were going to get butts and seats, mainly your Marvel fans who don't want to go see the Sony stuff, is like, remember Michael Keaton from...
There's also that graffiti. We spoke about this on Mike. There's the graffiti in the Morbius trailer of the
Sam Raimi
Spider-Man suit with murderer written across it, right? Edited out of the final cut of Morbius. It's not in there.
It's all just a big trick.
Do
you know what they should have edited out of Morbius? Jared Leto.
You know what they should have done? You remember in the 90s when Toy Story 2 was being worked on and somebody accidentally deleted the entire movie, and luckily it got saved by someone who was working from home, maternity leave, brought the movie back in, was like, guys, I have it, don't worry. Awesome. They should have done that with Morbius. They should have just been like,
But the person on maternity leave should have also deleted it.
The person on maternity leave should have just been like, I'm not coming back. I love my kid too much.
They should. I'm staying home with my child. Also, I've emptied my recycle bin. Still on my computer, so it's gone.
Gone. Sorry, guys. If I was working on Morbius, I think I would have done it. I think I would have been like, right, Gary, here's the final copy. It's the only copy we've got left, so you need to deliver this to Hollywood. And I would have gone, oh.
It would have been like you throwing the bouncy ball at your dad's head. You'd be just thrown out the window. Just like, goodbye.
This is another... Sorry, we're so far off topic now. But this is just another thing that fucking bugs me. Morbius is a great example. Other shit films, and I don't just mean the bad films, right? Because there are bad films that are designed to make money. No problem with that. They just release a film, people buy the tickets, they go sit in the cinema, whatever.
Just for context, Morbius, hour 44. At least it's a good runtime.
It's a good runtime.
I'm keeping us on track sometimes.
When they sat down and they watched Morbius, and they watched the scene with Matt Smith dancing awkwardly to himself after giving himself the vampire genes, and then giving a horrible CGI vampire face. Gavin, you have to see this film.
I'm not going to see Morbius. It's not going to happen.
Incredibly bad.
I don't have time to do anything. I have a job.
So when they sat down, they were like, right, first watching, guys. So the CGI guys are finished. The sound guys are finished. We've all finished our separate jobs, and we've all seen this film in little bits. And in little bits, we think it's all coming together. Let's all sit down and watch it. At the end of the hour and 40, how did so many people go, yep, sign off on that. That's good.
Because
that's good.
No, here's what happened. And it's much like if you ever, I've mentioned this before, if you watch the behind the scenes of the making of The Phantom Menace, and the first time the producers and George Lucas all watched it, it was the exact same for Morbius. The movie finished, the lights came up, there was stunned silence, and they just went, well, we can't change it now. Like, the things that are there have to be there so we can make
There's a bit... Speaking of the Phantom Menace, you know Darth Maul when he spins his double lightsaber around and he grabs it behind his back? That kind of like spins it and it stands like that with it behind his back and it's awesome. Ray Park, who plays Toad in the original X-Men movies, there's a bit where he jumps out of an elevator and he's got a pole and he spins it and he holds it behind his back. And when you see it side by side, it's the same move. It's cool.
So you're telling me Ray Park is an amateur?
He's
not an amateur. He's unimaginative.
He's got one move.
And it's that whole
spin,
I don't know what
spin behind the back. Yeah, I think the noise he made is the one that is a nightmare to film because they're like, right, Ray Park, you're the Toad, you need to be serious here. Darth Maul doesn't speak, so if you could just do your move quietly this time. Okay, Ray Park, you did the Mario noise again.
But then Halle Berry comes up and goes, you know what happens to a toad when it gets electrocuted? The same thing that happens to everything else. And the director's like, right, Ray, do your noise. Do it over that line. Because that is a shit line. And Ray's like, are you sure? And Halle Berry's like, I'm an Oscar-winning actress. Are you sure? It's like, that was a not Oscar-winning line. So
I like to think that it's not Ray Park making that noise. It's just the action. His body makes that
his
noise.
Body was,
his joints are spinning out of control.
Why didn't he cast him to play Mario in the instead of Chris Pratt? Because he could have just went, Aria!
Have they released any footage for that yet?
God,
do we know what they're going to sound like? I know they've said Chris Pratt's like, I'm not doing an Italian voice because I have no Italian heritage. Cool, fine with that. But
why have you cast Chris Pratt?
It still feels weird that we're going to get a Chris Pratt when Mary's going to come out like, oh, hey, Luigi, are you ready to go and collect some coins?
He's going to do the same kind of like light voice he does in the Lego movies. Oh my God, what's going on? Like we gotta get to Daisy or whatever. Which one do you is it Daisy?
Luigi and Daisy and Peach and Mario.
Peach is the one. Yeah,
Charlie Day is Luigi. The voice cast for that film is beyond insane.
How long would you think the runtime of that movie is going to be?
I'm kind of hoping for 3 hours.
They just fucking Nintendo go balls to the wall. Like 3-hour origin Marvel Mario movie.
So what do we have? Chris Pratt as Mario. Charlie Day is Luigi.
Seth Rogen is
Don. Seth Rogen has one bit, which is I smoke weed. That's his whole.
Seth Rogen has one voice
thing. So what are they going to be like? Oh, we got to go get our friend Donkey Kong in the jungle. Oh, hey guys, want a banana? Oh, these bananas are really strong.
Here's my question: is I'm assuming for English-speaking countries,
Jack Black is Bowser.
Jack Black's. It's going to be for English-speaking countries. It's going to be these actors, but like in Japan and stuff. Like, are they doing this? Like the Japanese equivalent of Chris Pratt and Jack Black?
I guess so.
Like,
who is that? Michael Keegan Key as Toad.
None, here's, and this is a conversation we could have in another episode at some time. Is voice casting for animated movies now is garbage because it's just like, hey, we got Justin Timberlake because you know the name Justin Timberlake. We got Chris Pratt because you.
I knew you were gonna say Chris Pratt there. I'm gonna give Chris Pratt a pass because he's proven he has voice acting chops. He can do it. Lego Movie's a good performance.
No, it isn't. Because he's the Troy Baker. He's the Nolan North of the video game world. He just does his voice.
Yeah, but it works.
No, it doesn't.
We'll find out when he does Mario and he has to actually do something. But I agree,
he has to make an effort.
Emmett is good. Emmett is a good character. His voice is good. I do agree that for a lot of kids' films nowadays, it's like starring the voices of Anna Faris and Justin Timberlake, and you're like, all right, Anna Faris has done voice work, not a problem. But Justin Timberlake is a musician. I've seen him act in films like Bad Teacher alongside
Cameron Diaz.
I was going to say Drew Barrymore there. Interchangeable.
Well,
alongside Cameron Diaz.
They're both in Charlie's Angels.
And he, wasn't a good actor in that. So why would you think separating him further from people is a good idea?
Yeah.
And then you go see that film and it's like, oh, hey, Timberland, the troll, how are you? Oh, hey, guys, I'm here to take us to the new magic forest.
Justin Timberlake.
Jesus.
It's like I don't think because I've seen Justin Timberlake in quite a few films. For example, In Time or Southland Tales.
Who's in Time?
If you want to have the weirdest experience of your life, because Philip and I had this quite recently, audiobook I should say, we watched Southland Tales because him and I are working our way through every single Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie. This is something that will come up.
What are you up to?
We have one left.
Have you done Skyscraper?
We did. That was the first one we did. That was back in like 2020.
Have we spoken about Skyscraper?
No, but don't worry, we're going to get to it because Philip, Audioboy and I have
Just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Right?
Yeah, right?
Me and Audioboy.
How good is that film?
Like you spoiled the thumbs up. Me and Audioboy have a big Dwayne The Rock Johnson Meandering Movie podcast plan. It's going to be epic when it happens. But yeah, Justin Timberlake's in Southland Tales. And he's got like a scar and he's like a war-torn like sniper guy. And in the middle of the film, he sings that I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier song. And it's directed by the guy who did Donnie Darko. And this was his big follow-up. And it's mental. It's fucking mental. And I can't wait to talk about that in a future episode of the Meandering Movie podcast. But that movie has a theatrical cut, which is like 2 hours, 10 minutes. And there's the director's cut, which we had to watch because we have to watch every single Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie. And it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Jesus.
And that movie, when you, like, I didn't drink during it, but by the end of it, I had a headache. Like, things hurt. Me and Phil were just like, we were just so out of it because the movie's so wild. And it's 2 hours and 40 minutes of it. And that's a movie that did not need to be 2 hours and 40 minutes. Just like, what is happening in this fucking movie?
We need to talk about Skyscraper.
We will talk about Skyscraper, which is a good length movie. Dwayne The Rock Johnson puts out good length movies now.
He does. But it's because he's just putting out that like you don't focus on this too much.
And that fact that brings me to Red Notice, which was his most recent one with Ryan Reynolds, which came out on Netflix. When you look at Netflix or Prime or Now TV, whatever, those are the places now I feel you can output like a long movie and it be okay because you're in the comfort of your home, you've got your setup, you can go pee when you want, you can pause when you want. And also, this is something that we didn't even say. If you're in when I went to see the Batman the second time, I had a lady sitting behind me who, for the entire movie, thought that we went to listen to her running commentary. Turns out we didn't pay to go listen to her running commentary. So every so often she would go, there's a point where like Batman says or does something to Catwoman and she just goes, oh, that's not how I would have spoken to her. And I'm just like, cool, bitch, thanks. Just like,
after coming out of Sonic 2, I decided I think I want to do this. Set up a Twitter account for things I heard in the cinema.
Yes.
And then put like, because there's a very specific thing that I usually hear in cinema and it bugs me the most. That pisses me off, but I would have just shushed her and told her to be quiet.
Yeah.
What pisses me off more are people that don't speak the entire film, but then at random point, for some reason, they decide to say something that is so blindingly obvious that's happened in the film and has been set up through the film. Sonic 2, best example. Sonic at the beginning falls out of a boat. And he's like, I can't swim. And they get him into the boat and he's like, oh, I hate water so much, guys. I can't swim. Right? Established.
Yes.
There's an underwater sequence where it's fun because Sonic can't swim and he's underwater and it's like the games and he sucks in a bubble at one point and he goes, whoop, it makes the noise. Awesome. Loved it. And he's at the bottom of this fucking temple or something flooding with water and he's like and it's like the screen's going black and he can't swim and Knuckles is fucking off from him and this woman goes, I don't think he can swim. Are you fucking kidding?
What have you been watching?
Yeah. Why would you? Who are you saying that for the benefit of? Because I can see that he can't swim because the film's fucking telling me it. In fact, you can see that he can't swim because the film's fucking telling you it. Sorry, you asked me how loud I was going to get at the beginning of this, and I feel like that's my peak.
The funny thing was, you're like, it's only if I get angry. It's like, we have no reason to get angry. And then we just meandered off into cunts saying shit in movies.
We riled ourselves up. What are we at? If we want to get a second episode, we might have to...
We're in hour 3. So yeah,
we should stop. We need to just wrap this.
Yeah. I mean... here's my wrap up to this.
We're so far off topic. It's unreal.
But it's the Meandering Movie Podcast. We named it.
We're back. We're back.
And for now, and then we're not. Here's my wrap up.
Yes.
Is one, don't know what I'm going to title this episode.
Sonic 2, the mini review.
Sonic 2, the mini review. 2, when it comes to movie lengths, I want an hour 50. Every time I go into a streaming service these days, I'm sitting at home, I've just come back from a shift or whatever, and I'm tired. I just want to put on like a movie and just kind of like zone out, enjoy it. But I don't want to, like, I want to go to bed or I'm tired or I'm going to go out later on. It's like every movie, 2 hours 20, 2 hours 10, 2.5 hours, just like constant. And I'm like, what? This is my final statement. I want the hour 50 movies back, please. I require it. I have a busy life. I have people and I have things to do. I would like an hour 50 so I can then go off to do whatever I wish to do.
I'm going to finish this with saying I'm okay with you making a long movie. And if you're a director and you're out there thinking my movie has to be 3 hours long, I actually don't have a problem with that. Do it. The norm, I agree. The standard should come back down to the hour half to 2 hour docket. But if you are going to go out there as a director and think, I'm going to make my movie, it has to be 3 hours long, fine. But if I go and see your film and it has superfluous 40 minutes of shit, you will feel my wrath on this podcast again, good sir. I will fucking, from now on, if you make a movie, I'm sweeping declaration. From now on, if you make a movie that's too fucking long, I will tweet you this episode.
Oh no.
So, yeah, be prepared.
Just imagine
John Lasseter and Brad Bird.
Stop bringing up John Lasseter.
I'm just saying.
Just imagine Matt Reeves' sequel to The Batman has a scene where Catwoman chases Batman around a golf course in a golf cart for 40 minutes.
And then at the end of it, it comes up, Batman's like, oh, I was going to listen to a podcast, but I hate the Meandering Movie Podcast. In fact, I'll delete it all from my phone. And me and you'll be sitting there like, holy shit, did he listen?
Matt Reeves listened to our episode.
Did we piss off Matt Reeves?
Please don't hate us, Matt Reeves. You did a great movie. And it's one of the best Batman visions we've ever seen on screen.
It's great. However, you should hide his eyes.
No, I like the eyes. The eyes are good.
Hide the eyes.
No,
especially with the content. Ryan said this years
back.
Not
here.
Ryan said it years back, and I've not stopped thinking about it. He's right. Hide Batman's eyes. They should be white, like every piece of media outside of the movies. Listen, because and now especially in the Batman. Fucking prime example. He's got those contacts that he puts in. So just make them have like photosynthesis, or like a button so he can be like boop. And when he's being intimidating, the white comes down. And then anytime he's not, when he's with Gordon or when he's with Catwoman, he can go boop and they come back to normal. There's your in between.
Oh yes, I agree.
Awesome.
I was doing my classic nope, not listening, and then you said something that was actually good, and now I agree with it.
Yeah, see? I just think it would be
because Pattinson's got so much on those eyes.
The eyes were great in Batman. It's just I just think like especially with the context where he's got them in anyway. There's needs, yeah. I just think because it's such a fucking defining look of Batman. Anyway, guys, that's our hour-long podcast about movie runtimes. We spoke about it for what, 20 minutes?
Don't worry, I'm going to cut this down to just the necessary bits.
How long should a podcast be, Gavin?
Well, the last one we did was Ironically, the last one we did was the longest one we'd ever done. And they're just going to keep getting longer because we don't give a fuck. And Audio Boy's not editing anymore, so I have free reign to do as I do.
True.
So yes, this has been episode 2 of season 3 of the Meandering Movie Podcast. We will try and have another episode out in less than 6 months from now. Can't promise that. But yes, as Gary said, the trip to Dubai still on the cards. So get your social media
Get your photos with your best celebrity lookalike. Not saying that is the competition, but it might be the competition.
So if you want to follow us on Instagram, that's Meandering Movie Podcast. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, that's @MeanderingPod. Look for us on Facebook, Meandering Movie Podcast. We have a Gmail account, which is meanderingmoviepodcast@gmail.com. Get your messages, get your suggestions, get your thoughts, get your celebrity lookalike pictures in with your chance to win a trip to Dubai. Plus, look out for us on TV shows like Love Island and
can we do an actual competition?
Rush.
Can we do an actual competition?
We can't get a podcast out within 6 months.
I'm saying this right now. Whoever sends me your best celebrity lookalike photo, and I want it to be an actual photo that you've taken, not from the internet. So you got to prove it's your photo somehow. The best celebrity lookalike, I will give you my Pride and Joy DVD of It's All Gone Pete Tong.
Okay, well, that's signed.
It's not signed, but
No, I'm saying you can sign it.
I'll sign it. Yeah,
I will not sign it.
There's a reason it's my Pride and Joy, though.
Why? No, do you want to keep that secret tantalize the people to want to?
There's a reason.
Okay.
It's a brilliant thing that has happened, and I love it.
I think I remember what it is, but we'll see if anyone remembers. And if you do remember, with your message, type what it is that's on the DVD, and then you definitely win the DVD.
But please message us. It's fun getting some audio stuff. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll be back soon with another episode of the Meandering Movie Podcast.
Music is no longer life.
It's meandering movies. It's meandering movies. It's meandering movies. So